Hi there everyone, Lars here, at last with my watching and waiting review and analysis. The finale, the grand finale, not just to the Owl House Season 3, but to the entire series as a whole. This episode left me feeling in a way that I wasn't quite expecting. And while I will say this, it is a good episode. It ends perfectly. I think it has the best ending that the Owl House could possibly have. When the episode was done, I got up and walked away with a big smile on my face, and then realized 5 minutes later that I was already kind of forgetting the episode, and that it was just good. It wasn't great. It didn't leave me with the feeling of sadness of that this amazing show was done, and it didn't leave me with that wholesome, fulfilled feeling of at least I got to go on this great adventure. It was just like any other old episode where it was fun, I enjoyed myself, and now I'm moving on. And I was like, wait a second, this can't be. This is the Owl House. This is a great show. What's going on? And so I took some time, went back to it, and began to realize, oh, this is a good episode, but it's an incomplete finale. And when I say that this is incomplete, there's a whole lot of things that either don't add up or just aren't given to us. Like, really, who are the archivists? Why is this important? The Titans were trying to speak through a special coded language? Whoa! Why didn't we get more of that? Why didn't we get some real hints to that earlier on? Sure, Bellows met the perfect ending for the sleazy slimeball that he is. But honestly, what about his great history? Basically, everything you need to know about his backstory is summed up in a joke and what we can piece together from little things happening in Hollow Mind, which really isn't all that great. And then, while I think that it's great how Luz is the one who rips him free of the Titan's heart and saves the day, it felt as though the ending for King, Ida, and Rain was either weak or shoehorned in. Why is Rain the one who gets to have the chance to kick Bellows to death when there are so many other characters who deserve that? Why isn't Hunter there to help deliver the killing blow? And we're left as well with just kind of an incomplete story of, okay, well, why are the characters in certain positions where that? Again, especially Hunter. Why isn't Hunter now working on Palisman? Sure, I guess it makes sense, but we don't really get to see that awesome relationship that could have been forming. We don't really understand why Amity is sticking with abomination magic when now she's free to kind of do whatever she wants. And really, how is Willow doing in sports? Gus wanted to be a teacher? This is something new. Has Bump finally retired, or has he not? It's kind of hard to say. While the ending was beautiful and fun to watch, it felt once again incomplete. How exactly did we get here? What exactly is going on? Now then, that being said, as a fan fiction writer and as a theorist and as someone who loves being able to explore on his own the potential within stories, there is a lot of great material to work with here. And that's something I'm actually looking forward to doing in the future. But at the same time, there's just so many big questions left over in terms of history, world building, magic systems. What the heck is going on with the cosmic threats that are surrounding the Boiling Isles or potentially the rest of this connected cartoon universe? And seriously, I want to know more about Bellows' background, specifically because I want to know what really happened with Caleb. There is a significant story there that was obviously left on the cutting room floor. Why was it left on the cutting room floor other than that Disney had shrunk the amount of time that the Owl House had to run? It's not just Disney's fault that this happened, but why did the writers make some of the decisions that they made? Why is it that the weirdo games with the Collector are way more childish than we were led to believe? And they ate up so much time. Why is it that the final battle against Bellows runs the way that it does? Suddenly, halfway through, oh, there's now a time limit on this power? I'm down to my last little glyph that shows I have only so much time? Well, now then the rest of the battle's just using that one glyph's worth measuring how much magic Luz has. wait a second, that's not the way that a good, well thought out battle should run. And also, again, some of the things were just woefully incomplete or even contradictory. Could the collector use his magic or not? It wasn't made clear. Certain claims were just contradicting each other. And so when I was going back to it, I was like, this is awful. This feels bad and wrong. But wait a second. But I enjoy the ending. I felt good after watching this episode. And so it leaves me in kind of an awkward position where I know that the fans absolutely adored this finale. And I don't want to take that away from them. I don't want to take away the experience that the Owl House brought to so many fans. And to me, I've enjoyed watching the Owl House. I've enjoyed its characters. Granted, there are some things that in the future I definitely want to kind of pick apart a little bit more and examine a little bit closer, things that I think were not done quite so well now that I can view everything back in hindsight. But at the same time, I just enjoyed the show. Why is it then that the finale wasn't exactly rewarding to me? Now, granted, opinions are subjective, and I will completely admit that here, but I will lay out the things that I do believe narratively hindered this final episode from really landing the punches that it could have and that it should have. One of the big ones is this: Hunter. Apparently, Hunter's grand wrap-up to everything that he's going through is when he rejected Bellos when Bellos was possessing him. Okay then, that sounds all pretty good and everything, but his presence in the finale is definitely lacking, especially when, like I said, why is it that Rain gets to deliver the final blow? That seems like it's a Hunter thing that should be done. I feel like Rain was shoehorned into a lot of this. Yes, Rain's a very powerful witch and everything, and their story, it could be a whole lot of fun, but I began to feel like Rain was being forced more onto me as a main character than they really were, to help justify the feelings that Ida has for them. Oh, and by the way, Ida's now in this episode, doing stuff because she loves Luz. I actually wasn't as moved when Luz apparently died and Ida and King suddenly get very upset. In part because Ida's entire arc really ended back in season 1, not episode 1, but back in season 1. And that's really, really strange to consider. And suddenly now things make sense. Why it was so hard to enjoy Ida moments back in season 2, even though I really wanted to, is because her story was basically wrapped up and she's just kind of been along for the ride. At least King got a good culmination, a good wrap up for his story, but again, he's just kind of along for the ride here. And that's wrong. Characters who still actually have real investment in fighting against Bellos needed to have a complete through line up until that point. Ida's story has been largely dropped until now, which is not good. We want to have a fully fleshed out Ida who's been on her own adventure leading up to this point. That did not come across. I know it was written that way, it just did not come across. It was not strong enough. And for King, basically the same thing. And it feels weird. How exactly then do you do this? You have to balance the screen time that you give to your characters, and you have to really give them meaningful actions and meaningful stakes leading up to this final fight. Instead, King and Ida act as the adopted family and as the support for Luz, which absolutely they are, but instead they serve in this weird support role rather than as equal participants in this great final fight. And again, looking at it narratively speaking, Rain doesn't belong in here. Rain definitely belongs in kind of the build-up to the final fight, and she'd be like, whoa, what is happening now as this found family fights together? It didn't work. And a lot of that is partly because, honestly, the relationship between Ida and Rain is forced and toxic. Yes, I have still not gotten over the fact that we're introduced to Rain in an episode where they and Ida are going to commit suicide in a stupid attempt to derail Bellos' plans when we know that Bellos could have easily replaced Rain. It's just so dumb, and so toxic, and this is never revisited again. Instead, it's just, oh, this is so romantic, these high school lovebirds finally getting together after so many years. You know what, I actually like that idea of two old flames getting back together in their twilight years and becoming a power couple, but that was not here in the show, and shoehorning it in even more in the finale took away from a character like Hunter, who should have had a chance to do something, or Amity, who could have been there as a support to Luz in the final battle, or what would have been really fun, Luz having to come in and save Amity as Amity goes in to try to help Luz in the final fight. There's so many fantastic combinations that could have been done that actually would have worked with the setup that we got for these characters. It's just not there. I think what I just really have to do is, and this is something I think I really will do now, I will need to do a battle comparison within the Owl House to showcase how the Owl House has actually done some phenomenal battles in previous episodes and how it ultimately dropped the ball in the finale. It was explosive. It was amazing. I enjoyed Luz's transformation. Oh my gosh, it looks so cool. It looks so good. And the animation was top notch. But then again, I will remember the battles from Amphibia, and I will remember Weirdmageddon in far greater detail than I will remember this particular battle, because the substance is missing in certain aspects. It's all there for Luz, and it's not there for some of the other characters. And I would argue maybe not so much for Bellows, for a guy who's so intelligent, who has so much power, and finally taps into the Titan's heart, which again, I'll bring this up right now. Why didn't he do that earlier? It seems kind of like a no-brainer decision, but in any case, he has so much power. Why is it that he's now just using a corruptive beam when he has so many other powers at his disposal that he could use? This could have been such an incredible fight of wits, of power, and of Luz truly using heart and the power of friendship and the help of other people around her to overcome an enemy who could match her wit for wit and spell for spell. That would have been an incredible, hard-earned fight, and then it would have made sense then why she's like, hey, look, I've beaten you, I'm throwing you aside, you're not worth it, because I know you're not worth it. These people can kick you into oblivion. And then, boom, we would have gotten that, and it would have been, chef's kiss. But it just sadly wasn't that. Now, after saying those negative things, let me just say this. I so truly enjoyed what we got with King's father, with the Titan. Being able to see this in-between world and all of the potential that's there. Learning about the truth of the glyphs and the power that's conveyed in there. And like how King is going to develop basically his own glyph language and where that could lead. There's so much great potential there. And with the Archivists, holy cow, if we ever return to this universe with the Owl House and everything, you have a built-in enemy right there that is mysterious, that's dangerous, that has a reason to come back. There's a lot of fun that you can have there. However, that's the problem. Right, here's the problem. Within a story, finding things with great potential is amazing. However, using that potential, if you can't use that potential, having these cool things in there is all fine and dandy, but it doesn't actually deliver at the very end. And anyone who has actually read a Game of Thrones, or I should say A Song of Ice and Fire, and really knows all of the crazy lore and whatnot that George R. R. Martin has stuffed into his books, there's so much cool stuff there that is never fully developed. And people say, hey, that's genius and all, but when you stuff in so much lore that you're never going to come back to again, that doesn't really have any kind of forbearance, it gets tedious, and it feels disappointing when you don't have a fulfillment of your expectations. Now, I will say that largely fits the bill for the Archivists. However, again, for King's dad, that worked out really well, and what led then to Luz's transformation, and also the King just, the Titan, thanking Luz for everything that she's done for his son and just granting her those powers and everything. That, for me, that was the real emotional moment, because you have this parent who's been cut off from their child for so long, who's been forced to wait and watch as all of this has unfolded, and having full faith in King's friends. That speaks volumes of Luz as a character, which I loved. That was perfect validation for a character, because that was actually earned by Luz by everything that she's done, and after all the hardships that she's gone through, to have a stranger, albeit a very important stranger, tell her thank you, and to actually hear that. You don't get that much in this series or in many other shows, but to have a character say thank you, that hit hard. that was earned, that was beautiful, and then granting her all that power, that was a true fulfillment of potential and of expectations, which then led to the gorgeously animated fight, which unfortunately just didn't have all of the narrative substance that it could have had. And see, that's the thing. When you look at it, or at least when I look at it right here, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was fun. It was good. I enjoyed myself. And there's certain things I still enjoy looking back at the episode. But then there's all these other problems that are riddled throughout. What could have been done to fix this other than Disney not being idiots and axing a full third season? I think that what could have been done is that the team creating the Owl House needed to step back for just a little bit and really think about how they were going to connect everything and what was to actually be the true emotional high points of this episode. By determining the exact emotional high points, figuring out how everything was supposed to connect, and then building to exactly that, I think that would have allowed them to utilize what little time they had, what few resources they had, and even if they had to leave the story of Caleb on the cutting room floor, which to me is a real shame, they could have delivered in a very powerful way using the right characters, using the right actions, the right words, everything. It may not seem like a whole lot at first, but when you're especially trying to craft a finale and craft a massive battle, it's amazing how important even just one singular sentence might be, or one character action, or the absence or presence of a particular character, and how that vastly changes how a battle plays out. And when your story is culminating in a massive battle to save a world, all of that stuff matters. And so while it was a fun fight, while it was overall a good finale, it got Luz and all the characters exactly to where they needed to be. And I enjoyed myself. It didn't have the substance that would have allowed me to walk away feeling sad that it ended and fulfilled and happy that it came along on this journey. Instead, it was just good. And when you're looking at a finale for an amazing show, good is fine, but it might not be what you're aiming for. Well, those are my thoughts. I know that that's not going to jive with so many other people out there in the fan base, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. We can disagree about this kind of stuff. And maybe when I go back and I view the show again to prepare for some other reviews and analyses that I wish to do in the future, maybe my mind will change a little bit. Maybe I'll see something that I missed before, or it could be that I find something that makes me enraged that it wasn't there. Who knows? That'll be something to discover down the road. For what it was all worth, I'm happy that I went on this adventure with the Owl House. It was fun. But now the series is over, and it's time for me to move on. I think in the end, while I enjoyed this experience, while I enjoyed this adventure, while I have enjoyed all of the friendships I've made along the way thanks to the Owl House, it probably ranks for me in the last spot between Gravity Falls, Amphibia, and the Owl House. That's just now where I currently stand. But it's been a fun adventure. I've learned quite a bit. I've been able to see quite a bit. And for that, I am honestly grateful to Dana Terrance and to her team, and I wish them the best of luck. And I really wish that Disney will wisen up, smarten up, and do things right in the future for their animated series. So, with all that being said, if you're looking for more analyses, reviews, and insights on writing, please feel free to check out our other videos here on our channel. You can also head on over to our podcast, Camille's Harem. And if you would like to support us here, a subscription is always very much appreciated, and you can check out the books that we've published. Links for all that and more are in the description below. Thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all, tschüss.